Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Previously, I promised that I'll come back with the clash of the bloodline altars. Let me warn you, this video might be long. However, if you have a mark on your body, right? In Sotho, they say "Letebalabadimo." If you have you see yourself repeating similar issues, problems that whether your aunt, one of your family member who passed on, you see yourself repeating those familiar behaviors, financial struggle, marital issues. Let me tell you, this video might be yours. You might need this video. Okay. I want, first of all, to define what is the bloodline altars. We do have the spiritual understanding of the bloodline altars. We have the cultural bloodline altars. We also have a psychological understanding of the bloodline altars. Today, we are going to, in details, unpack in this spiritual understanding, maybe tap in the psychological understanding of it. What is the bloodline altars? The bloodline altars spiritually can refer to agreements, covenants that hold significant legal grounds in a family line. I hope you heard me well. That was made by your forefathers, your ancestry. That was made by our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our uncles, somewhere, or even our parents. So this is the spiritual understanding. Now, this legal binding is influencing, whether bad or good, or even evil in our lives, because it holds a certain legal grounds in our lives. I know most people, African ones, they hold deeply in pride their cultural belief, their traditional belief. It might not be wrong, but the same values that you're holding on, the cultural, traditional values that you're holding on, in some way, it is hurting you. It is leaving you in disappointment, but you're still holding on to it. Your forefathers made agreements with a certain gods for protection, for influence, and for wealth. And who to pay that debt? The descendants. You believe it or you don't, but that is what it is. I said previously, most of us, we suffer the consequences of our parents, the consequences of our parents' decisions, or the consequences of our forefathers' decisions, while others are the answered prayers of their forefathers. So to those who are still in battling or still in battle, trying to figure out in life, navigating through the storms of life, the hurdles of life, you wonder, you have fasted, you have prayed, you have gone to prophets, you have done all, but it's not working. You seem to be getting hard to break the curse, the limitation. Let me tell you about the marks in your body. Leteba labadim. That is the mark where these ancient spirits, the altars, the ancient gods are able to control, Ho na le batho bao. Okay, let me put it this way. They are people, we do have people that misbehave even when they don't want to do it. There are people who have a problem with a certain behavior, but if you sit down with that particular person and ask, you will find this person doesn't even want to behave this way. This person tried in so many ways to break this pattern of behavior because they are aware that it is hurting them or they are hurting their fellow sisters or brothers or even their partners. However, it's not easy. Somehow that behavior, it has been passed down to you traditionally. Maybe you're not aware. Or you are trying to break the curses of limitation, financial struggle. You prayed, you fasted, you tithed, you did all you could. But this seems to be still here. You have a mark. That mark is a mark that they are able to control, manipulate your life. I do have it. I want to show you. I do have that mark somewhere here. It's a beautiful mark. Sometimes, or in the past, I couldn't realize I do have a mark. But I knew at some point, this part of me, I would usually have an itchy sometimes. Until one day somebody made me realize there's a mark here. And this is a similar mark of certain people. Oh yeah, yes. One day I had an encounter. And in that encounter is when I realized, or where I actually realized, most of the marks in our body, visible or invisible, they are being used to control, either to torment us, either to control our behavior, or whichever way. But we do things and you would find it's difficult for you to resist a certain pattern behavior. Yes. Your parents, your paternal, your maternal, they do have their own covenants that they made with a certain spirits or certain gods. And when they get married, back in the days, if you can still remember, marriage was not a matter of whether I feel good as a partner or whether he or she is working, he is working, he makes me feel good, he will, whatever. It was all about building legacy. It was all about, let's build legacy. Let's have kids. And kids at that time, it was a legacy. That is why you see, they would usually have 9 to 12 kids. It was a legacy for them that they were building. But it was not something that you choose, okay, I want to have kids with this woman, or do have a child with this man. No. Their parents would choose for them, looking at the spiritual background, looking at the behavioral background of that family. But in our days, it's different. You just want to get married to somebody that makes you feel good. And forget about the background, the spiritual background, the behavioral background. After getting married, because the excitement moment fades away. Now the reality kicks in. You only realize that you are married to this family that have a certain value spiritually, and they are going to clash with your own values spiritual, from your mother's side or from your father's side. Now, these two families are joined together, but spiritually, they can hold tight the waters. And now, who is going to suffer in the midst of this war, in the midst of this battle? Is you, is me in the process. The me, the you is the children. Now kids are suffering because of that. And possibly you happen to be suffering because of that. Because your father's side they demand certain things. Your mother's side, they demand certain things. Most people ask me, they are suffering because their forefathers' side of their paternal side is not in good terms with the maternal side. Yes, I remember my mom said when she was married, her husband's side, they did not finish the dowry process. And oftentimes, that thing used to, from her father's side, used to bring the conflict. So tell me, now the father is no more. Her father is no more. And what happens? He died thinking that these people, they owe my daughter, or they owe me for my daughter. Believe you me, the token of appreciation in terms of a dowry in marriage setup, in the olden days, it was held so tight. It was the pride of the families. In our days today, border, you just take a person, you go. And unfortunately, because we're still on this foundation, we are still standing on this foundation where our parents, our forefathers has laid for their descendants. We are suffering because of that foundation. Yes, we are suffering because of that foundation. Most of us, we have done all we can to break away from all this. Some of us, we have our own dreams, our own desires, but we are living the opposite of what you desire, what you see yourself. The last part that I know I said I will do briefly. The video is long. But if you want to know more, just stay tuned. The other part is, you must be the one who identify your identity before somebody identifies you. As a parent, you must be there for your child to identify their gifts, their calling, their talents before somebody else identify. Because they do not just identify, they also put a demand on it. So, as I said right now, I want us to understand, how is this thing affecting us? How are they affecting us? They are poorly and negatively affecting us, whether you like it or not. So the part where we say the clash of the bloodline altars is where your father's side, your mother's side, they're having issues. As I remember very well, in the olden days, we were taught that it was the vital thing, the most important thing, to make sure that you do the spiritual background check before you get married. Because you might get married to people who are witches, who are wizards. You might find yourself, you get married to people who have a certain spiritual values that contradict with yours. And up to this day, we still overlook that. Our African belief still has impact, or have impact in our lives today. And unfortunately, we do not look at it from the spiritual point of view, or filter it through the spirit of truth. We just normalize everything, even though it is hating us, even though it does not yield any positive results for our lives. Yeah, we need to be very serious with our lives. Our spiritual lives matters. Our spiritual lives do matters more than you could ever imagine. It's not an easy thing to get away with it. We do have kids with people we don't know where they are coming from. And it affects our lives. But we have normalized it, or it's still okay to have a child with this guy. I like the guy. The guy looks cute. The guy looks well established. He can take care of me or the kids. In the process, you are losing your identity. In the process, you are being hijacked and misaligned. Because when the clash of altars happen, you will be misaligned. You will be confused. You will lose your identity. If you still don't understand, check your life. Use this video as a mirror to check where you are heading. Till next time, we still have more to unpack. Things of the Spirit.